is Big Brother database coming to the United States? And this article basically talks about an infrastructure being built to store eye scan, your DNA, voice prints, palm prints. And this is an article from The Intercept from Felipe de la Hoz. All right, so this is an interesting article that's just talking about, as I said, a summary real quick. A rule currently under consideration would require practically everyone applying for any kind of status, and this is towards immigration status and becoming a U.S. citizen. Any status are determined by immigration enforcement agents to provide iris scans, voice prints, and palm prints, and in some cases, DNA samples. A tangled web of defense and surveillance contractors, which operate with little public oversight, have already begun to build the infrastructure that would be needed to store these records.
And you know how Republicans always like warning about the nanny state, big government when it's about taking care of people. But they love the daddy state when it comes to just growing government to punish people or controlling other people, as in, women's reproductive rights or gay marriage. But when it comes to building government up for incarceration, like this is going to be doing, they have no problem with it.
When I first read the article, I wasn't really sure how bad it was to have things like, fingerprints or even like, photos or voice prints or whatever. It's not that much different than what they have now, to Bedon's point in the chat. But once they started getting into things like collecting DNA so that they could try to profile who your relatives are, or use of like facial recognition software, whether through social media or otherwise. And then the fact that, government contractors have access to this data and there's not good controls around it, that's what really scared me. Because, we've seen a lot of these types of, break-ins happen before, not necessarily with the owners of the data, but the people who have access because they're contracting with those owners. Like when you think about when Target got popped a few years ago, it wasn't Target directly, it was one of their contractors who got hit. So, having those people have access to this data is very scary to me.
Yeah. In the chat, Don's talking about 23andMe, but that's people willing, doing it willingly, private citizens. It's not like force or coercion to giving it up. But even there, people have some worry because not 23andMe, I don't think, but there is one of those services have been used in order to find criminals. They give the information to police departments to check against their databases. So some people are like, I don't know if I want to give it up now, even if I want to find out my info, because then they're going to use it for police state or something, or I don't know, maybe they're afraid, they're going to catch a relative or something. I don't know. But basically, it's a slippery slope. Once you start giving your information away, you don't know what they're going to do with it.
I think it's just as bad as everything that they already have. It's just that'll be more that they have, but between Facebook, Twitter, they could put your entire profile together of like who you are as a person, what do you like, what videos do you like, what were your hobbies when you were 10 years old. Like they could put you a better map together based off of your clicks and based off of your browsing, and they link it into your browser and other apps. Even when you're not in their app, they're still collecting data. So they could map you pretty well. Granted, they won't have your eye scan data or your DNA, but like Bedon said, they're gonna get that through either Ancestry.com, 23andMe, or any of those other ones. They're still, again, they're all that stuff is out there. The ring was it the Ring cameras? Those things are already able where police could go and look at anyone that has a ring, and they can go check their camera to see if there was a break in the neighborhood, and
they can
track some.
They could ask.
What the site? Do you have to opt out of that or opt into the Ring camera network?
Opt in.
Okay. I didn't know. So
I don't know how it was when it first started, but it's opt in right now.
Okay.
I got a Ring.
I stand corrected, but it's the concern still is out there where if they want to see you on a block, they can. As long as you've opted in, they can see every camera, and that they've pretty much got a Big Brother network of cameras to watch as well. So
that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? Like, so like if it's in my eye scan, for instance, you have data on that. Okay, well, what if you really think about it? What does that data really do? You can't replicate the eye scan. It's not like someone can steal that data and reuse it. Same thing, kind of like with fingerprints. It's very hard to reuse that data. But if you're talking about like facial recognition stuff, like the Ring stuff, we're talking about like, if you guys remember the Fast and the Furious, the God's Eye, being able to tap into any camera around the world and see if people are going, to certain places and who they're interacting with and all that. That part is scary as hell to me. If you
That's
have
what
my
they wanna
eye
do.
scan data, I don't know. Okay, it sucks, but whatever.
Like China, can't they track you in real time? I've seen some articles and stuff where they could tell who's not in their house and who's at back when COVID started.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think I read something about that too. And I mean, it's not even that hard to do here. So I could imagine with China, having all the access to all their people's data that they have. Yeah,
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me.
One of the things that is I think hypocritical about all this is like how all of this happens. It starts under Republican administrations that always talk about individual rights and things like that when it comes to, a church's right not to, marry people, or a baker's right not to make somebody cake, because they're gay or something like that. But they don't mind big government for, like 9/11. They use terrorists as an example to build Homeland Security and ICE. Now they're going to use immigrants as an excuse to do this thing right now. So it's just a bunch of, hypocrites. And the Democrats go along with it too, as a matter of fact, because we have all those same people that get paid by the same big money industrial complexes. All those companies, the Amazons and the Northrop Grumman's, all those people, they're going to get paid and off of this from the government, and what they're doing is paying these politicians to vote for those things so they could get a return of their investment.
Gate. No, that's for like when like they can recognize how you walk.
Exactly, gait. Okay, so it's pronounced. Yeah, and it's called behavioral characteristics such as gait. So they're potentially going to be tracking that as well. So they don't even have to zoom in on your face. Like they can just see how you're walking and detect people that way too. It's
and
crazy.
they could just hire a bunch of people's wives, because my wife look at my son and be like, "Oh, he walks just like you."
Okay. And I know something that I know Izzy's gonna hate is that it says
I was
the
just
system.
gonna say this.
Yep, you were just about to say that, right? Like much of the federal government's data infrastructure is hosted on Amazon Web Services.
That's exactly the point I was gonna hit on when Carlito mentioned Amazon. They're prevalent everywhere. I know they have like a government instance that's segregated from the rest of their commercial instance, but they're definitely caking when it comes to this data as well.
Oh, totally. That's why they need to be broken up. I mean, they're just in so many different industries. Like I was saying in the chat the other day, they wanted to buy CVS, and they're into pharmaceutical distributing. I think Bendon says distributing pharmaceuticals. And I mean, they're just getting their hands into everything. It's really crazy.
If they're not the exact reason why antitrust laws were created, I don't know. I don't even know why they exist. Those laws, I mean.
Yep.
Wait a minute. They say the COVID app got auto-downloaded into the iPhones?
I don't know if he's just kidding or not, but.
No, that's true.
Damn.
Oof.
That's crazy. I heard Google was working on that, but I thought it was opt-in. You got to do it yourself.
Yeah, it is opt-in because I got prompted and I said nope, no, thank you.
Downloaded. Jesus Christ!
It was it was on. You had to go in and then you had to turn it off.
I'm saying at least it's not as bad as the YouTube album getting downloaded.
So another side of this story is a former USCIS asylum officer who asked not to be named because she still works in the U.S. immigration sphere said it's sort of an open joke that it's a mystery who has access to what kind of data. It's like a black hole. So this system, this infrastructure that they're building, the people inside don't even know who's controlling or who has access to this data. And it just reminds me of a story that I heard about the NSA, and I think it might have been Edward Snowden that revealed this, that they have people in the Homeland Security that they're listening to the calls of our soldiers. And the soldiers, they're talking to their wives, and they might be doing phone sex or whatever. They're intimate, they're grown adults, they can do whatever they want. But they don't know that you have these perverted guys who's in Homeland Security listening, eavesdropping on their calls. So here's another infrastructure that God knows who's going to have access to this information. And also they used to sneak up, the guys in Homeland Security would listen in on their girlfriends to make sure they're not cheating and all this different type of stuff. So
Edward Snowden, the hero.
Yeah,
Edward Snowden, the hero. Man.
Exactly. So these new technology can be abused by our own government, and they won't be held accountable.
And then not secured. Once they get into the hands of not government, it's even scarier.
If you're concerned about this new infrastructure being built, and is this like a creep that is going to slowly go from the immigration sphere, and then it's going to go to our jobs is going to require us to give our eye scan to enter the building. Let us know what you think about this in the comments below. Like and subscribe.
Let me give you a little